How does a grieving widow navigating the quiet wreckage of her life in her late 40s end up looking at her 19-year-old stepson like that? It started so innocently, didn't it always? Just an ordinary evening 2 years after my husband Mark's death had wrapped the house in silence. But that night, watching a movie with Liam, the line between the boy I helped raise and the man he'd become blurred dangerously, irrevocably. Have you ever felt the ground shift beneath you in a familiar relationship, revealing something unexpected and forbidden? It's terrifying territory. Make sure you subscribe and hit that bell because this ordinary evening sparked a fire that threatened to consume everything. Liam was sprawled beside me on the couch, arms stretched out casually yet radiating a new kind of presence. Taller, broader, his jawline sharp. The boy with scuffed knees was gone. A young man sat there, handsome, intense. I pushed the thought away, he's my stepson. Mark's son. A mantra I'd repeat with decreasing conviction. As the movie played, filled with action and fleeting romance, the atmosphere shifted. Liam leaned slightly, his arm resting on the back of the couch, edging closer. Our eyes met for a moment over the flickering screen. I saw a depth there, an awareness that sent a jolt of unease through me. It's nothing, I told myself, just the movie. But my racing heart knew better. Later, during a particularly charged scene, I felt his breath near my cheek. He'd moved closer, his hand near my shoulder. Close enough that the space between us crackled. Discomfort warred with a strange, unwelcome thrill. That feeling terrified me. That internal battle when your mind screams no, but your body feels something else. It's confusing, isn't it? Like this video if you've ever felt that conflict. Cassidy, he said, his voice low, hesitant, breaking the spell. My heart hammered. I want to tell you something. Yes, Liam? My voice trembled slightly. I just want to thank you, he began, his gaze earnest. After Dad, Marcus, died, you've always been here. You didn't have to be, but you were. I never felt alone because of you. His words, raw and vulnerable, hit me hard, making the charged moment feel even more precarious. Of course, Liam, I managed, forcing a smile. I'm glad you're here too. He didn't look away. Me too, he said slowly, his voice deepening. Seeing you here, it makes me feel at ease. The air grew heavy again. He seemed to sense it too, pulling back slightly, though his eyes remained locked on mine. My thoughts scrambled. The spark was there, undeniable now. The truth I tried to ignore hit me with full force. He wasn't a boy anymore. And that realization, terrifyingly, was changing everything between us. Why was he looking at me with such warmth, such emotion? What happens when the roles we play, mother figure, stepson, suddenly feel inadequate or even wrong? In the days following that intense movie night, Liam was different. More talkative at breakfast, his eyes frequently finding mine. He started helping around the house. Small gestures that felt loaded with unspoken meaning. Cassidy, let me help you, he insisted one morning, gently taking the broom from my hands. You handle everything alone here. Someone needs to help you. His acknowledgement of my quiet struggle, my loneliness, struck a deep, resonant chord. A warmth spread through me that felt both comforting and dangerous. How do you react when someone suddenly sees the burdens you carry silently? Share your thoughts below. Later, cooking dinner, I felt his gaze on me from the doorway. Not just looking, but watching. His eyes lingered, my hair, my back, the curve of my waist as I moved. I told myself I was imagining it, overreacting. But the intensity was palpable. And the most unsettling part? A shameful thrill coursed through me. I like being noticed like that. It had been so long. When he left, I found myself drawn to the mirror, assessing my reflection with new eyes. Late 40s, yes, but still attractive, slim waist, curves, wavy hair. A spark ignited within me, a flicker of the woman I used to be, or maybe the woman I still was, buried under layers of grief and routine. Liam wasn't a boy. And that fact terrifyingly excited me. I sensed we were spiraling towards something irreversible. One evening, I came home to a scene that stole my breath. Candles flickered, flowers adorned the table, soft music played. Liam had prepared a surprise for my birthday, but the effort felt more than just a stepson's gesture. Felt romantic. When Liam emerged, dressed smartly in a white shirt and black trousers, looking incredibly charismatic and mature, my heart skipped a beat. It was difficult to look away. I wanted to make this day special for you, he said, a faint, knowing smile playing on his lips as he handed me a beautifully wrapped box. Inside was a dress, a stunning, bold red, soft fabric, deep open back, high slit. Shock and a dizzying mix of excitement and hesitation warred within me. You bought this for me? I stammered. Of course. It's your birthday. I wanted you to wear something special. I'm sure it'll look amazing on you, he replied, his voice calm but his gaze intense, unwavering. What game was he playing? And why was I considering playing along? In my room, I slipped the dress on. The soft fabric against my skin felt like a caress. It clung beautifully, showcasing curves I hadn't appreciated in years, my legs elegant through the slit. Looking in the mirror, I barely recognized the vibrant woman staring back. This is crazy, I whispered to my reflection, a thrill mixed with panic bubbling up. I'm dressing up for Liam. But damn, the dress was stunning. And for the first time in forever, I felt stunning. That feeling of reclaiming a part of yourself you thought was lost, it can be powerful, even dangerous. Like this video if you understand that rediscovery. Taking a deep breath, I returned downstairs. Liam's eyes locked onto me the moment I appeared. The undisguised admiration in his gaze made my cheeks flush. I owe this to you, I murmured, gesturing to the dress. Then quickly looking away, flustered by the intensity. I was right, Liam said, his voice low, his eyes still devouring me. You look absolutely stunning. My heart raced. I tried to brush it off. You're exaggerating. He guided me to the candlelit table. Red wine waited. This wasn't just a birthday dinner, the atmosphere screamed intimacy, intention. But I didn't protest. I let myself be drawn into the fantasy he'd created. We talked about Marquez, about the past, the usual safe topics. But gradually, Liam steered the conversation somewhere more personal, more perilous. Cassidy, he said suddenly, his tone soft but serious. How can a woman like you be alone? I just don't get it. I met his gaze, momentarily speechless. Liam, being lonely isn't always a choice. His eyes held a deeper meaning. You don't have to stay alone, he interrupted gently, lifting his glass. A woman like you have needs, Cassidy. And I'm here. The implication hung heavy in the air, stealing my breath. The words touched something raw, something neglected deep inside me. I took another sip of wine, my eyes fixed on his. This night had irrevocably shifted. He set his glass down, gaze never wavering. You look incredible, he repeated, his voice husky. You deserve to feel special. That's sweet, Liam. But why? I asked, needing to understand, or perhaps needing to break the spell. He leaned forward slightly. Because you deserve it. You're not just a stepmom, Cassidy. You're so much more. The depth in his voice, the sincerity, disarmed me completely. Silence stretched, amplifying the tension. My heart pounded against my ribs. He slowly rose, walked around the table and stood beside me, resting a hand on the table's edge, leaning close. You don't deserve someone who doesn't appreciate you, he murmured. No one should overlook a woman like you. Liam, I started, but words failed me. Just as I struggled to form a coherent thought, he leaned closer, his face inches from mine. I can't hide how I feel anymore, he whispered, and then his lips met mine. Shock, warmth, passion, a dizzying collision of sensations I hadn't felt in years. His hand slid slowly to my waist, pulling me closer. The initial shock dissolved into an overwhelming tide I couldn't fight. Our lips stayed locked, the world outside fading away. Reality crashed back. I pulled away slowly, breathless, trembling. This isn't right, I choked out. Liam, I need to go to my room. It was all I could manage. He looked at me, his own breathing uneven, a fire still burning in his eyes. I'm sorry, Cassidy, he said, his voice calm despite the intensity. But I couldn't stop myself from feeling this. Without another word, I fled to my room, shutting the door, leaning against it, gasping for breath. How did this happen? The whirlwind of emotions, the wine, the impossible connection. I collapsed onto the bed, the weight of the evening overwhelming me as sleep mercifully claimed me. Do you think Cassidy bears more responsibility here, or Liam? Or is it a complex mix? Share your perspective. But the night wasn't over. Later, how much later, I couldn't tell, a faint sound startled me awake. My eyes fluttered open to see a shadow detaching itself from the doorway. The door creaked open further. Liam's silhouette filled the frame in the dim light filtering from the hallway. Cassidy, he whispered, soft but determined. My heart leaped into my throat as he stepped fully into the room, closing the door quietly behind him. I know I shouldn't be here, he murmured, moving closer to the bed. But I can't help it. The look in his eyes, resolute and filled with undeniable desire, told me this night was far from finished. It consumed me. My own suppressed emotions surged. I know I need to give you an answer, Liam, I heard myself say, my voice shaking but honest. My eyes locked with his across the dimly lit room. I feel the same way. And I want you. As the words hung in the air, his expression shifted, surprise melting into raw happiness, giving me a sudden surge of reckless courage. A trembling smile touched my lips. Please, I whispered, suddenly needing this, needing him, needing to feel something break through the numbness. Before I lose my nerve. My hands moved to my shoulders, slowly sliding the thin straps of the red dress down. The silk whispered against my skin as it pulled at my feet. Liam's breath hitched audibly. The desire in his eyes was a palpable force, fueling the dangerous excitement coursing through me. He stepped forward without hesitation, closing the distance between us. Our lips met again, fiercely this time, full of unleashed passion. His hands found my waist, pulling me tight against him as the kiss deepened, consuming us both. He gently guided me backward toward the bed. As he lowered me onto the mattress, my eyes stayed locked on his, a silent surrender passing between us. The weight of him over me felt both terrifying and inevitable. He pulled off his shirt, tossing it aside, his movements urgent now. Leaning over me, the intensity in his gaze burned away any remaining resistance. His fingers traced my cheek, then found my lips again. In that moment, all boundaries, all roles, stepmother, stepson, grieving widow, lost young man, vanished. There was only this raw, overwhelming connection. This is the point of no return. Make sure you are subscribed because you need to know what happens after this. I felt something shift within me, something broken or perhaps finally awakened after 2 long years of sleepwalking through grief. I surrendered completely. As he moved, lost in the moment, I gripped the sheets, closing my eyes, letting the raw tension and desperate excitement flood my senses. Opening my eyes to see his flushed face, his broad shoulders above me, an answering surge of recklessness rose in me. My hands reached for his back, nails digging slightly into his skin. He reacted, his heartbeat accelerating against my palm. He couldn't hold back any longer. We surrendered to the storm, breathless, clinging to each other in the wreckage. Afterward, he lay beside me, spent, silent. That day, lost in sensation and forbidden feelings I had finally felt, something shatter the grief. But looking back now, was it happiness or just the volatile thrill of transgression? I realized, with a dawning sense of dread mixed with exhilaration, this wasn't an end. It was only a beginning. A very dangerous beginning. What happens when profound grief meets illicit desire? Is this connection real or a desperate escape doomed to cause more pain? Tell me your predictions below. Give this video a final like if you felt the weight of this moment, and absolutely subscribe and turn on notifications. This story is far from over.